was the railway through then? Can you remember?
The railway came through in 1928.
Can you tell me about how the railway, did you know any of the campsites or anything that came through? You don't remember any of that? Home of Phyllis Goody, and Jimmy's with me, and he's going to talk to Phyllis and Beryl about times in Cania and Grevillea and Yallambie and things like that. Jimmy, would you take it from there?
Yes, well, even though you don't want to do this today, you ladies, we're going to talk about your early days, and probably we'll start with where you were born.
Well, it started down at the Darkies.
Well, you can tell us again because that wasn't on camera.
So, I Dr. Bancroft wouldn't have been there. Was there a doctor there?
Yeah, Dr. Bancroft.
I don't think Mum had a doctor.
Well, what year were you born?
1911. But I don't think there was a doctor.
Whereabouts were you born?
At a private house.
At a private house in Hodgeville?
In Hodgeville.
Well, I'll just write this down. Well, I know my father was born in Hodgeville, and
Was he
yeah,
in the hospital?
No.
No, well, see, I
There was a midwife.
Yes,
in
well, that's
Hodgeville
what
in those days.
Who was it? Do you know?
No, I don't know. But I do think there's records of it somewhere in the Stewart clan, because most of the Stewart kids were born in Hodgeville.
Yes, it
So
was a woman, I know that.
Yeah, I've heard the name. I just can't remember.
What was Mrs. Frommel? Was there a Mrs. Frommel too?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's...
And where did your parents live at the time?
Cania.
At Cania. And where did they come to Cania from?
Well, my mother was born in Cania, and so was my father.
They're both born at Cania. And about what years were they born, do you know?
I fancy I was... They're lucky I knew when I was...
Yes. So your family's been at Cania
Yes.
for a long time.
All went to school there and everything.
So then you grew up at Cania. And
I left Cania when I was 14.
But between you were born and you were 14, you lived at Cania, and your parents did what there?
I was still there.
And what
Still in the hotel when I left.
Hotel. What was the name of the hotel?
This Cania Hotel.
Were there any others there?
No, there was, yes, but
Yeah.
see, before my time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably a bit like I felt. It was, I think, 15.
I forget how many there was in Cania, see.
And what was it like growing up in Cania?
Lovely.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
How many what?
Brothers and sisters?
Brothers, I only had one brother. And 4 sisters. 3. Huh? 3 sisters.
Sisters.
Yeah.
And what was it, the hotel? Were there many visitors came through, or?
Oh, yeah, we always had someone there. We used to have a lot of permanent boarders, you know. They were working on the mines and things, and they'd all stay at the hotel. At race time, well, we used to have beds everywhere.
When was race time at Cania?
Oh, now, we used to have races twice a year. When were they? I haven't even got a Cania race book, you know. Burnt them all. Ah.
Can I come in there? Maybe I can help you, because I've got a Cania race book.
Have you?
Yeah, and with nominations in it that cost 2 shillings.
Yes.
And also that the book runs from 1905 to 1917, and it was always held on Boxing Day.
Yeah, I had books and books. Oh.
Yeah, there are quite a few books in the Hodgeville Historical Society from Chas.
Of Hodgeville races.
No, of Cania.
Of Cania?
Yeah, Chas. Hardwick kept everything.
Yes.
I don't know if you've read his book. your job as a kid working around the hotel? What did you have to do?
Jack of all trades.
Master.
I used to have to milk cows and clean up and don't talk about it.
And you obviously made your own butter and
Huh?
you made your own butter and everything like that.
Yeah, I used to milk the cows. 20 cows before I went to school. By hand,
And where was school?
just across the creek from the hotel.
About how many kids went to it?
Oh, about 30 something, I think there was in my time.
How many teachers?
One teacher,
Who was that?
my auntie. This is Charlie Hartwick, you know.
Yes.
Do you remember some of the names of the other children at school?
God, can you remember all the Charleses and the Gasmans and the Angus? Oh, God.
Well, for the hotel, where would, something that puzzles me, where would they get their supplies from? You know, so where would
Get to
they,
come by Teamsters, you know,
for
from
instance,
Gladstone.
the beer, was it in kegs?
Yeah, it's in those wooden kegs.
And it would come from,
And if they got dry on the way, they'd knock a keg out. Yeah, come from Gladstone. Used to take them, what was it, 2 or 3 days? I forget now.
and how did they keep the beer cool? Or didn't they
Uh,
worry?
You just drank it as it was.
Alright.
Dad used to put the keg up on the the counter and
Yeah.
with wet bags over it. That was our fridge. They drank the beer, it didn't stop them. Oh, that was great.
And the races were the big time?
Oh, big time. We used to have a dance and everything.
And where would the music have come from for the dance?
Well, this is Alice Parrish. You'd remember her. She used to come up and play sometimes for the dancers. Play the piano. Oh, could she play?
Where would they have the dance? Was that
In the hall, just near the hotel.
Alright.
Oh, we danced till about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. It was great.
What were the popular dances?
Yes.
Now, what were the popular
Huh?
dances? What were the popular dances?
Oh, well, all those old time dances, you know. Waltz and shotties and barn dance.
And then you used to get up next morning and they used to all go and play tennis for the day, didn't they?
Yes, after we finished all our work.
Now, before the hotel, what did your father do?
Well, he was working on the dredges there, you know, for the mine. I don't know how many years he worked there, and of course then he bought the hotel and that was it.
And he only worked at Cania on the mines? Yeah. And the hotel.
And of course he built the Mungungo Hotel then later.
And when did the mining finish at Cania? Do you remember? Was it going when you were there?
See, I had the license of the Cania Hotel for 12 months when I was married.
Alright.
Because Dad still had the license and he didn't want to, cancel it. He said to me, will you go? I said, yes, that'll do me. So I went to Cania and stayed there till the finish of the license. But there was nobody there, half a dozen.
About what year was that?
What year?
30 you were married.
When they were building the house at Ellavore, must have been 30, 31.
30 you were married.
Because I moved to Ellavore in 32.
Now when you left Cania when you were 14, where did you go to then?
To Mungungo. Worked in the shop with Mrs. McWigan,
What sort of shop did they have there?
grocery shop.
Were there many shops in Mungungo then?
Only one.
Only one.
Then I went away and I had 12 months at the convent in Gladstone. Came back then ready to start in the Mungungo Hotel.
Is that where you went to when you came home? Mungungo Hotel.
After Dad sold it.
I know Mungungo.
Well, Dad had that built. He was the first licensee.
All right.
You were, weren't you?
Huh?
You were, weren't you?
Where?
At Mungungo.
No, I never held a license there, only Cania.
I thought you had it at Mungungo.
No.
And so your family had the two hotels at one time, Cania
And
and
Mungungo.
And then you went back to Cania later on after you married.
Oh, yeah, I went back
Yeah.
there just to, and then of course come to have the property then. So,
Well, probably in between there we should say that you got married. So what year and who did you get married to?
1930 we were married.
How'd you meet Gundy?
Well, really at Mungungo.
What was he doing then?
Well, he was a mail contractor.
Pony mail?
No, car then. I used to go from Barryman around Caninda and all.
Where'd they get the mail from?
Well, it used to come to Barryman, isn't it?
I was on that.
I think so.
And then he'd pick it up and he'd deliver it.
Yes, in the car.
So you met him while you were a barmaid, did you?
Yeah, that's right.
Just looking at Beryl's notes here before we go any further, there's a, do you remember the day Little Ray Panel died?
You know, I can't remember, but I know my father had a truck where he took him where do I told her.
What's the story? I don't know it at all. Could you tell us the story?
No, I don't know. Oh, Mrs. Carline's the one that could tell you about that.
He was killed, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He died eventually. He was up at, they lived up at Mahoon?
Mahoon.
Mahoon, didn't they? And he was yarding a beast that had broken
Yeah.
away, and the horse clipped the beast's heels, and he come off, right? And they had to ride down from Mahoon to Cania,
Yes.
and to get a sulky or a buckboard or something,
My father's car.
yes, and he took them back to Cania, and then he tried, it was a big storm, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a big storm that night, and he tried to get them from there to Many Peaks to the doctor. And the side blew out of the car. You'd run out of oil or something, and it blew out of the car and it broke down. And they finished up, they had to get a pumper. You know, one of those things on the railway?
Yes, that's right.
And had to get the pumper to meet them, and they took him into the Many Peaks Hospital on this pumper. But he died. He never regained consciousness.
Oh, yeah, we're done.
So that was the story. Sorry about that, Jim.
No, that's okay, because that had me intrigued. I know Ray Panel and I got just what the story was.
Yes. That just shows the hardships that people had to suffer in that time because of the lack of phones and communication, and some of the tragedies that happened, because if they could have got that lad to immediate attention, he maybe would have survived, see, like we have today. But in those days it wasn't an easy chore to get from A to B to get to a hospital, no matter how serious the accident or what happened.
Well, our nearest doctor said was Many Peaks.
That's right.
Dr.
And that was
Yum.
Yes, I've heard some wonderful stories about Dr. Yum. And you know that his home was moved from Many Peaks out here to Ian Henderson's place? They moved his home onto Ian Henderson's place out here at Rawbell somewhere.
They did?
Yes. And now it's been replaced with a new one. Ian said to me that they bulldozed it down and replaced it with a new home. So, but he was a wonderful old doctor because, and he used to send all his patients Christmas cards.
Yeah.
And everybody had a wonderful, he's Chinese, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah,
Oh, it was awful. Yes, I'd have to go in a buggy from Cania to Dr. Yum in Many Peaks. In a buggy, and I had diarrhea. Oh, I was nearly dead when I got there.
Yeah.
That was yummy cane.
You liked him?
Huh?
You liked him?
Yes.
Yes. He eventually moved to Gladstone, did you know that?
Yes,
Yes.
that's right.
Yes, that's where he went to and practiced there. And he had just as big a reputation there as what he did in Many Peaks. Your turn, Jim.
Yeah, I think certainly worked tough as far as doctors are concerned. As an uncle of mine, Joe Malone, was buggy get him to Gander. From there they put him on the train and took him to Brisbane. You know, it's,
I remember that.
3 days is a long time with a
Yes,
broken
isn't
leg.
it?
And I don't think I did ask you, where were you married?
Thunderbird.
In Bundaberg. Yeah, I thought you may have been married in Monto.
No,
Why Bundaberg?
well, I just don't know. I didn't want to get married in Monto. I thought it wasn't stylish enough.
Monto wasn't stylish.
No, those old churches.
That's quite truthful, isn't it?
I think it's right to the point, yes. And this is what we love about the elderly people. They don't camouflage anything. It comes out just as it was. What we love about you people is the fact that you just tell it as it was.
Yeah, one thing that's always interested me about people in Cania and Eichfeld is how they saw Monto develop. Like we have ideas and stories of people in Monto, with Monto starting, but what was it like for people?
Well, I never came near Monto.
No, but you would have heard
Oh, well, I never heard
stories.
much. People up in Cania didn't worry then about Monto. But the only thing I remember is the opening of the railway line from Eichfeld up to Monto.
So in your years at Cania, did you have much contact with Eichfeld?
No, none whatsoever.
I know in the stories in Eichfeld, in the Historic Society down there, there's often mention of Cania, you know, of miners and families, etc., going between the two places. And I just thought that you may have had some contact with them.
No.
Mungungo was established before Monto, wasn't it? Do you remember that? See, the railway came through from that way, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Right.
Yeah, well, the railway came through there when we were in the hotel.
Yes.
1928 came
Through Mungungo.
yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, what is the difference between Waratah and Mungungo?
It was the same place.
Yeah, well, which came first?
Waratah.
It was known as Waratah.
Waratah.
Was that possibly the name of the property?
Huh?
Was that possibly the name of the property?
Yes, it was Waratah.
Who owned?
Where my uncle used to be.
Uncle.
He had Waratah. Uncle Harris.
Right.
And when he went there, had Monto established?
Well, you know, I don't know.
When he went to
Waratah.
See, he went to Waratah in 1924.
Oh, did he?
Yes. With all his worldly possessions fitted in a wagon. When he left Cania, all his worldly possessions fitted in a wagon. And he went to Waratah.
Yeah?
Yes.
In when?
1924.
I was only 2 years old.
Yeah,
And
well,
then I couldn't
And he went on to a place that was owned by Norm Rule.
yeah, well, this is Waratah.
That's correct. Yes.
That's right, Norm
And that was a great place for sports and entertainment, wasn't it?
Yes, down on
Tell me about that.
Well, I don't know much about it because, you know.
They used to have it down there on the flat that's all
Yes,
under
I-
cultivation at the moment, didn't they? Yes.
They did have races there.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, over the creek, you know.
Yes, they did have races there. And,
I
all-
heard that, I mean, I didn't...
and Harry built a store there, didn't he, that was run by his sisters?
Who?
Harry? Didn't Harry build a slab store?
No, my sister had a store.
Did she? Right. Tell me about that.
Bergen.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Oh, no. I don't know much about it.
She built it? They had it built?
Oh, no, it was part of an old building, you know. It was a shed
Right.
at the back of Uncle Harry's. But then she did get a shop built down next to the hotel.
Yes, that's the one that you helped her run.
No, I helped her to run the one up at Waratah.
Oh, is that the one you worked in at Waratah? It had a slab floor, didn't it?
Oh, no, not the one at Waratah. did it?
Tell me about that.
Oh, no, I didn't. Oh, you don't remember the story.
Right.
Well, just changing around a bit, can we go back to Cania? It was an old race course up the top of Eddie Childs' place. Is that the one that you used to go to?
Yeah, that was the only one we had. We only had one race course.
So about how far was that from the park?
township?
Mm.
Oh, you don't know either.
No.
Oh, would
No,
it be
I
half a
don't
mile?
know anything about Cania at all.
Oh, it might have been half a mile.
Yeah, it was a bit of a distance.
Yeah. Up past Charles was there, you know, old Granny
Yes.
Church.
Yeah. Past the cemetery.
Who has that now?
It's all underwater.
Right,
Underwater.
that's what we want you to do.
Terrible.
Yeah, bogged down, eh?
Yeah, well, just a minute, we'll take a time so we can...
You're starting.
We couldn't get in from your Lambie, I don't know how many times.
So this is what the seasons were like when you were married.
Oh, they weren't too good then. Because when we moved out to Wellawar, I lost all my cattle.
What year was that?
That was 1932 though. Yeah, Dad had all my cattle up at Caravan. He said, oh, I think I'll bring your cattle down, Phyllis. I said, good. They weren't there long and they died.
Drought.
Down. No-Go River never ran all the time I was there. People don't believe me. I was telling Norm Ross, you know, but, he said, that's not right. I said, it is right.
And were there more droughts than floods then, or
Huh?
more droughts than floods,
Oh.
or about even? And from there we'll move on to your family. Now you married Gundy in 1930.
30.
And where did you go to from there?
Well, huh?
Hello.
Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Well, see, I went to Cania that time. Held the license there of the hotel.
And Gundy was
He
a
was-
was he a jockey? Yeah. Can you tell us anything about them? Where
He must have had his first ride outdoors, huh?
It wasn't Cania, right?
Huh?
Wouldn't it be?
Well, I don't know. I could have been too young.
Either Cania or Dawes.
I wasn't worried about boys then.
Didn't he ride a horse, a lot, Snipe or something like that?
Evening Glow?
Evening Glow. What were some of the horses he rode? Come on, tell me.
Well, I don't know.
Well, Evening Glow, he won.
I've got a photo of him on Evening Glow.
He won two
Won
races
two
in one
races in the one day.
But,
where was that?
Down here
In
in
the
Monday.
back.
but in those times, most trainers raced the horses and put them over two races in one day, didn't they? In those days, they didn't only restrict them to one race. Race horses backed up in two races. But I have a photo of him riding a horse, and I think it's called Snipe, and he rode it regularly. And there's a list of rides that he won on it.
Oh, photo on that?
Can't tell me, eh?
Was it Cania one? No, I don't think
It was at Cania.
Huh?
Yeah, there's a photo of Gundy riding this horse, and then all of his list of his performances, the horse's performances.
Where was
Well, I don't know anything about that.
It must have been Cania or Dawes.
Right.
Where was the race when all the boys were in the one race and Grandad was the
Oh, that was
starter?
at Dawes.
That was the door.
Tell us about that.
Oh, well.
What, we had my five brothers,
Huh?
five brothers riding.
Yes, my granddad was
And,
starter.
My dad was the starter. But there was another jockey in the race.
Yeah,
too,
Wally
and-
Crab won the
And he
race.
won it.
Wally Crab did. He was on that place where you were later
No,
on,
on the opposite to us.
was he?
But he did buy our place later.
Yes. But at that time, the Dawes Hall was black soil with great cracks in it and everything. It was terrible with that race course out there, wasn't it? Was that on the first, second or third race course at Dawes?
We raced on
Whose property was that on?
Robertson's.
Yeah, that was the first one.
That was the first race.
Yeah, the first race course out at Dawes.
And then whose did we have?
I don't know, that would have been the third race course, the last one. That was.
Yeah, we had a race course at Caulfield's.
Mm.
And
One was on Penfolds.
Penfolds, that's
Yes.
right.
Later.
Could have been still there only for him.
Yeah, well, it was. I think it was on Alcock's, and then Penfold bought Alcock's, didn't he? And that's what happened, see, so it went off there. And you're right, he didn't even allow them to have the last race meeting there, did it? They had to transfer it to Monto, didn't they?
Yeah.
He wouldn't allow them to have that last race meeting out there. So, never mind. History, it goes on. Life's got to go on. So Gundy had quite a significant racing career, though, as a jockey, didn't he? Even though you don't remember it, I know that. He was quite a good jockey. And all the Goody boys and the ride-outs, quite a number of them were all jockeys. But in those days, Phyllis, anybody could ride a horse. There was no weight restriction, was there?
No.
And if you didn't have a horse to race at the races, Pat Hughes down here on McGildy Station would give you a horse. Is that correct? He'd give you a horse to race for the day. And that was how good-hearted he was. You know, he used to breed them. That right, Jim?
So I got in my album in that wardrobe, the big white one, that's the problem.
Phyllis, there's somebody I want to ask you about. Wonga.
He used to stay with us at the hotel, and him and I used to play quoits, you know, those and used to go crook on beating, you know. God, he used to go crook on me.
Well, did you ever see his mate,
Pepper?
Pepper, yeah, I've got a photo of them, Wonga cutting Pepper's hair. Or Pepper cutting Wonga, I don't know which.
He was a grand old gentleman, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I've never ever spoken to anybody yet that hasn't spoke very highly of him. How did he die?
You know, I don't know. No, I don't. You ought to know.
I think he was found dead at McGildy Station in the room he lived in. But
I think that might
quote
be
me on
right.
that, but I think it has.
I think you're right, Jimmy, because somebody came in the other day, and I'll tell you who it was, Mrs. Lynn. Old Mrs. Lynn, Beatty Lynn. She said to me that they found him, he'd hung himself.
Yes, I think. Oh, I didn't hear that.
No, I didn't hear that
Yeah,
either.
she said he'd hung himself.
Oh.
And there's been some controversy about where he's been buried. That's how I come to find out, because I made some inquiry as to where he was buried, and he's buried on the creek, not in the gravesite. Percy Bill went to the funeral. He told me he's buried on the creek
At McGildy.
at McGildy.
Oh.
Yeah. No, the story I heard that he had died of natural causes.
Yeah.
You know.
And she said to me that's what she said to me. Now, whether that's correct or not, but she swears that's how it was. And Percy Bill, the same thing. Very sad.
Yes, if that's the way.
Old Pepper. Old Pepper was blind. He went blind, didn't he? Tell me about that.
Well, I don't know much about it. It was after I'd left Cania.
And he used to wander off and get lost. It was very sad for him too. And then they'd find him out in the paddocks and they'd have to bring him home.
Can't you find it?
He did have a dog called Salt.
Did he?
Yes.
He what?
Pepper had a dog called Salt.
Salt and pepper.
Oh, did he? Oh, yeah.
I'm going to have to switch.
The family.
Right.
The family, you married in the 30s and the seasons were bad because in 32 you lost all your cattle. That's where we were. And you had your children, some children before the war.
Oh, that's the problem. How many before the war? 2, 3.
3 before the war. And then Gundy joined the army, didn't he? What year did he join up?
1942. In that big flood. And then he was away 3 years.
Where did he end up going?
New Guinea.
Was he away for long periods of the time?
Oh, yes. He didn't know whether they were alive or not.
And when they wrote you from there, did they put on it where they were, or was it
No,
just...
they weren't. Gumby did in one of these letters and it was all cut out, you know.
So there was censorship then too, yeah.
You know, I didn't know where they were.
And what's your memories of the war around here?
Oh, not too good.
Where were you?
I was here in Monto. I moved into Monto when Gumby joined up. See, I was living in that big house at the sawmill in that 1942 flood and had to move out of there.
That's where the big house is. It's still there. It's still there. That Sluter's built.
Yeah. Yeah, I was renting it off old Bill Sluter.
Was the sawmill operating then?
Oh, yeah.
And the water came right up to that
Right
house?
up, I have to get out.
And where'd you go to?
I went up to Mrs. Baxter's for a start. She came down and picked me up.
And?
Well, I stayed there then till the water went.
How long did that take?
Oh, about a week.
So it was a really big flood.
Oh,
How high did the water come up?
right up the back steps. I could still get out the front, but not the back.
Was that the time that the water